Hi guys, Mars here, and I thought I'd just do a quick video report of a pickup game I played with a guy I met at the Bend It Like Brisket tournament recently. He's a really nice chap, and it turns out we're quite local, so why not take advantage of the opportunity, get some games in, and shake off some rust. I'm not really sure where I'm going to go with the style of this video. I've been thinking that I'm not going to try to recapture my move-by-move battle reports that I used to do. And I think I'd like to explore making the reports more about discussing concepts and displaying examples, or else just waffling general thoughts about the game. I'm not sure how that's going to pan out. I'm not a great player, so I really doubt people other than me could have got anything out of my old kind of like play-by-play stuff, because the moves I was making probably weren't that good. And whilst not being particularly skilled or knowledgeable at the game also probably disqualifies me from talking about game concepts, maybe I'll be able to fudge it just enough that it can at least be some food for thought. So yeah, I think we're going to experiment for the next few videos and just see where it goes. So for this game, we've got Scatha Hunters versus Pinvice Engineers. My team is from the left, Matagi, Jakar, Snow, Veteran Minx, Scatha and Edge. And get used to seeing these guys, because I'm going to pretty much be playing this team no matter what into all comers for the next good few games. And I'm going to do that for the reason that I just want to build a baseline for myself. I want to see what these models can do together in as many different circumstances as I can find, and from there I can start to switch in and out models based on a hypothesis about how they'll interact with a certain aspect of the enemy team, and try to build up my knowledge of the game and the ways in which hunters can be played that way. It's a bit like the idea in League of Legends where I think the fairly standard approach is to really drill down on mastering one or two champions so that you can use them with your brain off, basically. So, you've built up so much muscle memory, so much familiarity, that you can essentially play the character on autopilot and focus on understanding, learning and developing how the broader game actually works. So that's the idea, and I've chosen this particular squad because I think it conceptually fits how I want to play, and I'm enjoying it. So we've got Scatha as the captain. Obviously Scatha is my favourite captain, probably one of my all-time favourite models from any gaming system. There's something about the aesthetic and the theming and the way she feels when you activate her in gameplay that really calls to me, and honestly, if it wasn't for Scatha, I probably wouldn't be playing Guild Ball. So we're playing Scatha, and that means we want to focus on a bit of football. For the mascot, Scatha's totem mascot is Snow. I like Snow's model and theme. I think it's pretty trash, secretly, but I want to see how to make Snow work. So I'm going to play Snow. So for the rest of the team, I just in general want a team that can play football pretty well. So I want fast, relatively independent models. I'm going to need ball retrieval, and I'm going to need a bit of teeth, a bit of damage to be able to contest areas of the pitch and threaten a 2-2 victory condition, even if my main game plan is going to go for 3 goals. So I'm bringing Veteran Minx as a solid core. This is going to be my most, durable model, essentially because she can do a bit of everything. She's fast and she's got a decent kick, which can make her a backup goal threat. The main thing she's got is that 2-inch melee, and the ability to be pretty defensive, being able to go to 5 defense, 1 armor against injured models, makes her one of the most durable models that the hunters have actually got. She can operate really well on little to no influence, being able to drop a trap and put out the Blessing of the Sunfather, and she's got that momentous 2 damage on too to help put the boot in if she needs to. So yeah, just an all-round really solid model that's got to be part of the backbone of my team. So the next thing I need, critically need, is ball retrieval, and that means I'm bringing Matagi. I think bar none, he has the best ball retrieval in faction, able to tackle from 6 inches away for free, or at least without spending influence, is absolutely clutch. And on top of the fact that he is also really fast and brings a bit of damage and damage augmentation, which makes my my otherwise quite unthreatening team capable of threatening takeouts with that Harrier. So then in my head I'm going for football. I need a secondary striker, and this becomes a choice between Ultha and Edge. I really like Ultha thematically, and I love his model. Fuck you, Francois! And with his charge ability, I think he'd be a good tech piece into unpredictable models. But Edge is a bit like a mini Scatha, lots of dodges, ignores terrain, he's got a decent kick, and 2 standout abilities, one being a ranged snare, which really just enables everything the hunters want to do, and 2 being close control for being able to hang on to the ball. So that takes us to the last slot, which I think needs to be some sort of damage. But when I tried the bear just it just doesn't do. It takes too many resources. Like it needs the rest of the team to set it up. To spend resources setting it up, which is not like I want to be scoring goals. That's how I win the game. I don't want to be setting the bear up, like spending everything to set the bear up to get 2 piddly points. Like Cena has the damage, but is not mobile enough and takes too many of the team's other resources on it, and I kind of need my team to be a bit more independent. So the next best killer in this in faction is J-Car, and I love J-Car, the little murder pinball. And so my theory is that he is going to bring what I need to the game. He can hit hard, and with a little bit of setup, he can one-round a squishy model. But on top of that, he's fast, so he can get to the soft targets. He's actually not so easy to hit in return, given his control. Like he's got control abilities, like he's got his trap, he's got gut and string, and back to the shadows. Like yes, if the enemy really wants to kill him, he's gonna die. But it's going to cost them a bit extra in positioning and influence to do it, which buys time for my goal threats to do their thing. And on top of that, J-Car's speed, maneuverability, like he can also be a goal threat himself. So I've got like every single one of my squaddies is lightning fast and capable of putting in goals. Like not the best goal scorers ever, but their like average level is pretty high. And most of them are capable of a basic level of punching back, and if 2 or 3 of them work together, which I can afford to do because of their speed and range, they can credibly threaten the squishier targets on the enemy team. My team does have some pretty big weaknesses. All my models are fairly squishy. We don't put out a lot of damage compared to some of the more melee-focused teams, so it doesn't take a lot to outfight us, and if the enemy can hide the ball and output more damage than I can, then we're going to have a really tough time, especially because I've only got one model with a 2-inch range. So it's going to be very easy to gang up on me, on my isolated models, and waste my influence and movement by pushing and dodging and abusing range advantage. It will start making my activations like really inefficient and start to reduce my threat on the ball. I also don't think I have a knockdown in this whole team. I can't think offhand who has a knockdown. And that's really bad for setting up kills and controlling enemy movement and impeding their ball control. So I really would like to have a knockdown, but we're just going to have to settle with the idea, we can't do everything, and I'm going to have to settle for many of my players have like quite easy to hit tackles and basically prey probably. So that's the general idea behind the squad. So let's bring this more into the game that I played here. And talk about what I want to be doing with it in a game where I'm kicking. So the general plan is going to be kick with Scatha and fully load her up with influence and really gun for the first turn goal. And really what we're ideally looking to do here is to interrupt the enemy team's unpack and basically balance having as many of the enemy models activating as possible to reduce the retribution Scatha's going to face when she goes for a goal run, with stealing the ball and scoring the goal before they get their formation set up to like either set up their sort of like receiving goal run or else hide the ball so that I can't get it. And essentially all I need to do to pull that off is be able to activate Snow first, who can just walk up to the middle of the pitch, put anatomical precision on Scatha so that it can improve her chances of getting the dodges and the tackles that she needs to pull off the shot. And then it's just waiting for the ball to be in the right position for me to do it. If only Snow's gone, I could still use Snow as the snowball dodge target. If I want to wait a bit longer, then I'll probably go next with Minx and sort of like try to control a goal run lane with a trap. Then we might go with Edge, and we're just looking to move up and put out a ranged snare, or else move up a flank without presenting too much of a viable target for the enemy team. And then by this point, we're hoping that some enemy models have moved up in range, and it's probably Matagi to go. see if he can get in range to hit something, generate a bit of momentum. And then ideally last activation is J-Car. Presumably the balls become vulnerable for Scatha's goal run at some point up till now. So she'll have gone in, which means hopefully she scored and the balls bounce back out again, and the enemy have gone for their sort of like snapback goal run, or at least have pushed up forwards to take space on the board. And basically J-Car has something he can get in range to hit and start generating me some momentum, so I can start to try to win turn 2 initiative and threaten to slot in an early top of turn goal to really put the pressure on. So things played out pretty much according to plan in this game. Snow put anatomical position on Scatha. Scatha pretty much went in straight away after that. I think the engineers collected the ball with Spade and passed it to Mainspring. And I went. And Spade had knocked Scatha back. Actually, that was quite important. So when Spade went up to collect the ball, he did some sort of like pushback on Scatha. I didn't really know if she'd be in range to get to the ball anymore, but I tried it anyway, and it turned out she was. So I basically bounced off Spade, got to Mainspring, stole the ball. I didn't have enough influence in the end to dodge out, so I ended up taking a bonus time shot in the melee ranges of both of them. But at least nothing was impeding the ball path, so I managed to score, dodged her Scatha out, basically as far to the flank as I could. I was trying to block the big guy, whatever he's called, Colossus, from getting to her, but in the end, Pinvice got to her, and then managed to kind of like push her just like back into range of where Colossus could get her, and my opponent's dice spiked pretty hard, and Scatha was left quite injured. And the ball ended up being left somewhere near Spade. I don't know if Spade had managed to get it by the end of the turn. I can't quite remember. It looks like he had. And yeah, so J-Car and Natagi are sort of threatening the ball there. Minx, you can see, is like, I thought he'd be trying to take the ball up my right flank with Pinvice. So Minx was sort of sitting there, just trying to block that route between the rough ground and the trap, but I probably haven't positioned it particularly well enough. And I don't know if positioning there actually like gives Pinvice or whoever could go for the goal like a needed stepping stone to get momentum and get into range. But the more I play, the more I'll understand what is the optimal way to block a snapback goal from this kind of position. So I lost the initiative. I didn't have any momentum at the end of the last turn. So my opponent went first. I used like the half-time oranges or card, whatever, to just boost Scatha's health up a bit, just to waste my opponent's influence, which I think then meant he had to go with Pinvice to make sure he would kill her rather than Colossus. So Pinvice did kill Scatha, 2 points to the engineers, and then he did his sort of like accomplice ability to activate Spade, who did his diggy hole and pushes and whatnot bollocks, and basically ran all the way to get into range to shoot the goal. And my opponent's dice turned on him. I think he was rolling 4 dice. I don't know if he bonus timed or not. And it was like 2 1s and 2 2s, like missing the shot. And so the ball sort of bounced, passed by goal line on the right-hand side. And that was just pretty brutal for him. So my opponent had played the card that I think it's like goal defense card. If he's got a model or some models within 4 inches of his goal, the TN is for scoring the goal goes up 1, which is annoying. I would have still tried to take the shot and just trusted the dice, but that did make the snapback goal less likely, obviously. So once he missed, I sort of felt, well, okay, right, I don't need to try to get a goal this turn. I can play it a bit slower. So J-Car went and basically like left Spade on 1 wound remaining, and Snow claimed his first ever kill. J-Car push dodged Spade into Snow's range at one point, so Snow just went nom when he got a chance to go before any of the other engineers could come up and heal Spade. So Snow's incredible contribution, 1 damage, kill, making the score 6-2 to the Hunters at this point. So then, that freed up Mataki. to I think Edge managed to get a snared on I don't even know what that guy is. Is it Nomad? Which then allowed Matagi just to walk within 6 and put up his Harrier and basically pepper the shit out of him with Harrier, the snapshot thing doing 2 damage. So not really building much momentum, but I already got quite a lot of momentum off the Spade kill. So yeah, so this is like that was a good example of otherwise sort of like low damage team. Like Matagi doesn't do that much damage, but like with his Harrier to augment his damage, it was pretty good. And then towards the end of the turn, Minx put out another trap just to try to control that midfield a bit, and went to go get the ball to like set up a goal run down the right flank on the next turn. So I think I've missed a picture here. This is, I think, a picture of the end of the game. The next sort of like turn chronologically, I let my opponent take the first activation, which probably was the wrong decision. Nomad, or whatever his name was on like 1 wound remaining, and my opponent could have like run him away or healed him or something. Probably not healed him without momentum, but like probably could have run him away out of my ability to kill him. Maybe not, I don't know. Or at least made it more difficult, made me have to move up into a more vulnerable position to kill him, and so denied a point. But instead, he brought Spade back on and did his like incredible digging holes across the pitch. Basically got into melee range with veteran Minx, tackled her. She tried to tackle him back, and then I think he didn't have the influence in the end to take a shot on goal. So essentially we just killed Spade again. JCar and Minx murdered him. Matagi killed the Nomad guy. 10 points to 2. We couldn't tackle Spade in the end, and I just wanted to make sure he was dead. So he had the ball. It scattered up towards that fast ground sort of little pond where all the models in this picture are clustered around. And I think we didn't know what the rule was. Edge hit Colossus and was able to like dodge within 1 inch of the ball, and we didn't know if I was able to snap the ball to her if she's in combat or not. We didn't know. So in the end, I just didn't. But I would have snapped the ball to her if I could. And then in the next turn, Matagi dropped a Harrier on everyone. Oh, which I think we forgot in the end. So I dropped a Harrier on that blob. Just took pot shots at Colossus for fun and got the ball, tried to pass it back to Minx, missed, but it went to her anyway. So that's why Minx is still in that position with the ball. And the engineers started beating on Edge, and I think this sort of highlights a major weakness of this engineer team as I see it, is that they are so pillow-fisted that I can have Edge, one of the squishiest characters in my faction and probably in the game, so poorly positioned, so vulnerable, up in the middle of 3 players, and I don't even know that they damaged her. She ended up being knocked down. Maybe she took 1 or 2 points of damage, but I feel that the engineer team's lack of threat on my models just allows me to place them wherever I want with very little fear of reprisal, and like able to control the space, able to threaten the goals just however I like. There's no sort of like pressure on me not to be somewhere, and I think this highlights it really, really quite a lot. So all I did was get Edge back up, dodge her over to... Or was she even knocked down? I don't even know. I can't remember. Anyway, she got into melee with Nomad, and she hit a lucky snare on him, and then she survived a bit more beating, and JCar went in like a wrecking ball and smashed him. And that was the game. So that was a 12-2. Only 1 goal scored. Makes me sick. Something I did think about was, so bringing Scatha back on, I brought her over on my left flank as far up as she would go, and then she was able to like walk into the forest. And on her activation, this is actually like talking in turn, like back a turn. On her activation, she could have moved up more aggressively into the enemy team's half, right? And I used momentum to heal her, so she was on a decent number of wounds, but I was setting up for the final kill on his damaged squishy models, and so I decided to like move Scatha basically into the center of the pitch, as moving her up would have been like more aggressively, would have like created another goal angle, but would have placed her in harm's way when I didn't feel I needed to do that. My understanding is that Pinvice can do some decent damage, and basically I just felt that it wasn't worth the risk to move her up forward, so I moved her kind of like more defensively back, like so that she'd be able to support any sort of fight that was brewing and still be able to threaten like getting the ball if needed. But I didn't like how I ended up with basically all of my squad in a sort of like loose clump in the midfield of my half. So I'm not sure if I was too cautious with Scatha, and maybe putting her more in that sort of area of the rough ground in the middle of the pitch would have been a better position. I'm not quite sure. Maybe that would have given Pinvice a target where she could like use her influence to go and generate some momentum, put some damage on me, that sort of thing. Whereas me moving sort of more defensively just like kills that huge area of the pitch and forces the enemy team to waste influence repositioning. Yeah, those are my thoughts on the game. It was a fun game. This seems like a hard matchup for Pinvice, as from just how it seems from these two games, Scatha has as good or better goal threat and much better kill threat than Pinvice's team, so it seems sort of hard. But my opponent is very new to playing the Engineers, hasn't played for a while, we're both shaking off the rust, so it's almost certain that neither of us are playing optimally. So if you've got advice or tips and fancy sticking them down in the comments, be my guest. But otherwise I'll thank my opponent for a fun game again and leave it there. Take care.